Well, hello everyone. So excited to talk to you today. We've got such great news to share. We have recently launched the Essential Guide to Kentucky Family Research. I'm joined today, I'm Christopher Padgett, I'm the president of the Kentucky Genealogical Society, and I'm joined with Tricia Aanderud. Welcome, Tricia.
Hello, everyone.
And Tricia has been just the driving force behind this wonderful new guidebook for Kentucky research. The first that's been published in over 30 years for Kentucky. So we're just thrilled to be able to talk to you today, Tricia, and to share the good news that this book is now published and it's available on Amazon. So, Tricia, you want to just share a little bit about your role with the project?
Yeah, so I've been the communications director since, 2021. And I was started doing the blog, and I started pulling a lot of information out of the older Bluegrass Roots. And what's interesting about genealogy is, whatever was true in 1850 is what's true today. And many of the research techniques that were used in 1974 when the society started are still valid research techniques today. A lot of what was written in Bluegrass Roots, it was kind of it's difficult to access, and it just needed to be modernized. So that's what I'd spent the last year and a half doing, was getting it modernized. And then folks started asking, I think they approached you and said, can you print all this out for us? Can you get this together for us? And I thought, that's a good idea. Why don't we just put it together and make a book out of it?
Yeah, when we were sharing with folks the fact that we had transitioned Bluegrass Roots to a blog, there were some in the sort of library world who were upset because they were like, a blog, how are we going to be able to access that? And I came back to Tricia and I was like, can we just like print those out and put them in a binder? And Tricia was like, I've got a better idea. Let's publish a book. So, but it's not just Bluegrass Roots. It's not just the best of Bluegrass Roots. There's some other wonderful stories in there. You want to just share a little bit about what else is in the book?
Oh, gosh, let's see. You've given me an opening, Chris. There's so many, Cynthia Mahari, she's one of the professional genealogists who belongs to the society, and she's spoken to us before. But she shared this really nice, it's a funeral card from her grandfather's funeral. I'm sorry, I know that's, but I thought this was just so sweet. And she was talking, her tip was about making sure you look at the pallbearers, because, that's often family or, friends, and being, keeping up with those people. So I liked that, and you're gonna put me on the spot to collect some,
And how many contributors are there in the book?
18 of them. Some of them still living, some of them, passed on, but just so much good information on this one chapter about the, don't let the courthouse disaster demolish your research plan. Think about this. The guy who wrote this, Michael Watson, I don't believe he's alive, but he talked about everyone wants everything to come from the courthouse, but he was expounding on all the different places where you can get information. And when I was talking to membership VP Kathy about it, she said, oh, like from my grandma. And she went and scanned out this, this picture from her family Bible and said, look at all the information that's just in this Bible alone. And she liked how the handwriting, she thought the person did a good job with the handwriting.
Well, and what you're touching on too is that there not only are all these tips and tricks and how to research in Kentucky, but woven throughout this book are photos and maps and lots of bits and pieces of personal information that folks shared that were contributing to the project.
Exactly. It's just been really nice. One thing that I liked was Betty Darnell, who's a longtime member. I had said something about how do you get people interested in your research, and especially, family members who, they kind of go to sleep when you walk around. She talked about it so much, but she had the idea of just sending a weekly newsletter, and she included this picture of her grandparents, and I love the picture of her grandfather. He just looks like he's so excited to be alive, and just looks like such a friendly person. And this was such good information, like, yeah, just each week, just drip a little bit of information out. That's useful.
One of my favorite chapters is from Deb Oliver, and it's about, is your Kentucky ancestor in the log cabin? And Deb shared how accessing the log cabin newspaper, which the society digitized through the generosity of our members, how she was able to use that to find out lots of information about her family. So that was so interesting to me, just seeing a project that the society had sort of taken on and funded, and actually see one of our members use it to do research. I was just thrilled to see that.
She was so excited when I told her we had done that. Typically, she'll give me an idea, and I won't see anything from her for a month or two. But she had that article written like in 2 days, just all the information she had found, and she was still digging. I had to tell her like, stop. Let's just go. Let's do this one. But and the picture of her grandfather and the idea of like what he did at his store, and then he had some of it was a little bit more tragic than that. An uncle, something happened to him, but it was still a good way to help other people understand how they can use these resources in their research.
And what's so interesting too about this book is how many folks who either are native Kentuckians or who have the Kentucky genealogy, they were contributing to it, and which makes me wonder, as the person who led this project, what was your favorite part of the process?
Well, I loved publishing. I've written 3 other books that they were technical content. And I just like to share information and compile it. I don't know, there's something about that process that I just really enjoy doing. So I don't know if I have a favorite process, but it was definitely a lot of fun coordinating like 18 different people and getting bios and making sure everyone was satisfied with the way what we said about them. And that was definitely the fun part.
And so what was the editing process like? Because you had all these folks just like sending you all this information. Then what happened with it all?
Well, so Beth Blankenship, who is essentially my right hand, I could not do any of this without her. What we do is, each time someone sends us a blog, we go ahead and get it into a format, and then we add links and get it cleaned up, and then it goes over to her. And she told me that her process is that she reads it, and then she goes and has a cup of coffee, and then she comes back and reads it a second time. And then to make sure that it flows, it says what we think it says. And, there are a lot of times she'll come back and say, this reads like this, is this true? And okay, yeah, and so we'll go back to the author and get some information. But she did that. She has read this book, I know, at least 10 times, and she wouldn't even let me, I'm anxious to get to press, but she's like, no, I'm going to spend another day reading it. And I'm like, Beth, come on. But she's like, no, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect. So good for her, because I don't have that level of detail that she has.
Well, you guys have done what I think is an exceptional job with Bluegrass Roots. It is an amazing resource for Kentucky researchers. Like all over the world. If folks watching this have not went on the website and checked out Bluegrass Roots, the blog, you are really missing out. The content is superb, and what is fascinating to me is all of the different nuanced ways that you share how to research in Kentucky, and then just stories about the families. And every time I read that, I'm like, I'm learning something completely new perspective. It is amazing. You guys do an awesome job.
Thank you. We try. It's important, I think. It's one thing. I was speaking to someone the other day, and we're talking about, I don't just want a pedigree chart. I want to know the stories. I want to, even if the lore is not true, I still want to hear it. I think it's fun when people think about, what their family did, or just what was humorous. Like my great grandfather used to always tell my mom that he would be coming home one night and he saw a lantern pass by him, and there was nothing but the lantern, and how afraid he was. And probably this never happened, but what a fun, spooky story. And it gives you a little glimpse into what, he wanted to be entertaining when he was talking to his children.
Well, and the fact that you captured that and you wrote it down so that others can hear about it. That is the best part. And the as we're talking about the book and Bluegrass Roots, the blog, we might, Tricia, inspire someone out there who has a Kentucky research methodology or story that they want to share, and maybe they're interested in contributing to Bluegrass Roots. How would they go about doing that?
So usually what I do is I ask people just go ahead and send me an email at communications@kygs.com, and there's very few ideas I turn down. The one idea I turned down was for someone thought that we might be interested in how a casino works. And no, we're not. But as long as that was just a spam guy. So typically I don't turn away any projects. What I usually have difficulty with is people want to send me like, here's every thought I've ever had about something, and it turns into like 5,000 words, but we've only got room for 1,000 words at a time. And it's okay if you want to link some stories together, but the kind of content that works best is when you can do something like Deb Oliver did, where she gave you some stories about her family, but how she got there. One thing that I did was I talked about how I couldn't find my great Aunt Frankie. I saw her listed in the census, and then I just could never find anything else about her. So I used a timeline technique to help me locate her. And I've received several comments from people about how much that article helped them as well. So if you want to submit something that talks about how you were able to find a family member or how you use certain techniques, that definitely works. And then we've got a place where you submit the final content to us.
Now, this book, which has been out there for about a week now, and this is a, I don't know if you can see my book. This is a thick book. This is not a brochure. This is a real big 8.5 by 11 book. Lots of photos, lots of information. From what I've saw, Tricia, we're selling quite a few of these. This is in the top 10 now on Amazon.com. That's pretty exciting.
It is, and for genealogy books, we had, all the proceeds from this, which we've already paid for that. It wasn't a lot, but all the proceeds go to our digitization grant program this year. That's what the plan is, and we've already raised like $2,200 for that. So this has been a very successful fundraiser for us.
And I'm so glad you said that, because the best part of the book is not only the people who buying it get a copy, but they're supporting the Digitization Grant Fund, and that helps get other documents, other newspapers, other collections that are sitting on a shelf somewhere digitized and accessible for researchers all over the world. And we put those out there on the website so people can access them, and it's awesome.
That's right. So, and it's like this is all volunteer. All the authors are volunteers. Basically, the only one getting paid is Amazon, and they're getting paid to publish it and keep it on their website so others can see it. So definitely no funding or money left on the ground. It all goes toward our grant project.
So it kind of lends itself to the next question, Tricia, which is there another book on the horizon?
Of course, of course. Our next book we've got planned. I went back and I found this document. The very first year the society was formed, they had apparently a big meeting, is what it sounded like, and they invited speakers from all over the United States. But the one that came was Milton, I don't think I'm saying his name right, Rubicon?
Milton Rubicam, yeah.
Rubicam, yeah, he was from DC, and he was the president of both of the National Genealogical Societies. But he spoke about using the federal records. He spoke about how to research in Virginia. He spoke about how to research in North Carolina. And like I just told you, like the things stay the same with genealogical research. And a lot of times, Chris, when you look back at some of these older resources, you'll find resources that no one talks about today. So we're putting all of that information together, and then that'll be probably volume 2 of Essential Guide. But we're looking for that to be out this summer.
Wow. So if you enjoyed volume 1, volume 2 is coming, and we're making some news right now. That's the first announcement we have of the next book. Tricia, anything else you want to share before we kind of conclude today. I know that folks, if they want, they can go to Amazon.com and buy the book.
You know, my favorite part of this whole book, when I didn't know like all the old laws of Kentucky that you can just get them, but this is one when they were talking about looking at state level records. In 1849, the General Assembly moved William Bowling. They put him in Breathitt County, and he wasn't happy about that. He wanted to be in Perry County. So the General Assembly moved William Bowling to Perry County without moving his house. So that's some of the fun stuff you get into with genealogy to me.
Tricia, I cannot thank you enough for your passion and leadership and kind of making all this happen. And just what you've done with Bluegrass Roots, it's turned it into just such a dynamic, insightful resource for researchers all over Kentucky, all over the US. And we've got members even outside of the United States, all over the world. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, I can't do it without the people, the authors who support me. So I'm just a little traffic cop in a lot of ways.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today for this announcement. So nice to see the culmination of all your work over these last few months coming together with the publication of the Essential Guide to Researching Your Kentucky Family History. Just want to say thanks again, and hope everyone goes on to Amazon.com, get your copy today, and I appreciate everybody for listening to us during our conversation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.